Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bull Take Scouting Podcast. Today, we're going to be revealing our all-rookie team for the 2022 season. And spoiler alert, Instagram did see it first, so we've got to hear what a lot of you have to say about this team. So that's why we're going to be really talking about some of our picks that were the most debated in our comment section, just to offer a few explanations for why we chose some of the players that we chose and, chose them over other guys.
So we'll put our all rookie offense up on the screen first. And if you're listening just to a podcast, I'll read out all our rookies on the team. Quarterback, we have Brock Purdy. We have two running backs, Kenneth Walker and Tyler Algier. Two wide receivers, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. Tight end is Greg Dulcich. Our tackles are Abraham Lucas and Ike Ekwonu. Guards, Cole Strange and Zion Johnson. And center, Tyler Linderbaum.
Yeah. So, Alex, what for you was the most difficult position to pick here?
Honestly, I think that second running back or third wide receiver spot that we put Tyler Algier in. I think we had a couple contenders for this. Drake London, Tyler Algier, the two Atlanta rookies. I think that was kind of a close pick for me. I kind of went back and forth on that. And I think we kind of determined that what Algier did, especially towards the end of the season, was extremely impressive. And, not to take anything away from London, but Algier really solidified himself as the second best running back in the class throughout the whole season. So I think that's kind of why we went with him there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Algier went over 1,000 yards rushing, and he wasn't even really the main running back until halfway through the season. And on the season, he averaged 4.9 yards per carry. So for a running back to have that kind of workload and to average nearly 5 yards per carry is really, really impressive. And I think a good scouting lesson to take away from Algier is that, if very often you see these running backs slide to day 3 because they don't have any special trait, but they're solid all around. There's no weakness. I mean, if you look at Algier and a guy like Dameon Pierce, another day 3 pick who really popped this season, both of them just have good size, good strength, good contact balance, good burst, good vision. Nothing's elite, but they're solid all around, and that earns them a lot of playing time early in their careers. And Algier definitely made the most of it.
Yeah, totally. The other really skill positions, I don't think we had too much of difficulty with. Olave and Garrett Wilson were our clear, wide receiver 1, 2. Really 1A, 1B. I mean, they both went for over 1,000 yards. Kenneth Walker, I think for us at least, was easily the best rookie running back from start to end of the season. He started a couple games late, but then once he really got that RB1 job, he really ran with it for most of the season. Dameon Pierce, some people were a little confused why we left him off. He was really good to start the season, as you mentioned, but he really started to fall off a little bit. I don't really think that's because of his talent. I think it's more because of, how poor that Houston offense was, and defenses started to realize, if we really take away Pierce, there's not much else that we can get beat by. So I think he's a really good running back, just, unfortunate circumstances for him, but that doesn't really take away of how good of a player he has been this season.
I agree. And I also know some people brought up the fact that we included Purdy despite him only playing 6 regular season games over Kenny Pickett, who played the majority of the season and did really have a couple really solid showings at the end of the season, especially with 2 game-winning drives in back-to-back weeks. I think that's just because I would say there weren't 6 games in Pickett's entire season that matched up with the 6 games that Purdy got to play in the NFL. And now I know the situations are completely different. I think if you swap them, obviously, I think Pickett's on this all-rookie team instead of Brock Purdy. I mean, Pickett had to deal with a kind of a poor supporting cast, some questionable coaching and play calling, whereas Purdy is in a great scheme coached by Kyle Shanahan. But, I mean, he definitely made the most of his opportunities. There's only so much the scheme can do for you, especially as a late-round rookie. You still have to go in there, have poise, have good decision-making, process the field well, playing NFL defenses for the first time. Purdy did all of that really well, went 6-0, so I really think he deserved this spot.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really get to talk about him too much, but his play just shocked me. I think any quarterback you put into that system is going to perform, well. Kyle Shanahan does everything he can for his quarterbacks, but he looked extremely comfortable back there.
Mhm.
You could argue he looked as comfortable or more comfortable than Jimmy Garoppolo. And Garoppolo's been, around the league for quite a while now. And it's just shocking to me that as Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, you can come in as a rookie. And yes, you have a great supporting cast. Yes, you have a great offensive line. But like you said, you're still playing against NFL caliber defenses. And to go 6-0 without really taking many starting reps at all season, it's just extremely impressive to me. And, I really thought that he deserved this spot over Kenny Pickett. And, in the long run, who knows what's going to happen. But like you said, I think his 6 games were better than any of Kenny Pickett's top 6 games of his season.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the tight end position because this one was actually a really close call between Greg Dulcich and Chigoziem Okonkwo. What really came down to it for me was that they had almost identical production, and Dulcich did miss a few games, and he was playing in an offense that was really struggling for much of the season, and it just felt like when he came back from injury a few weeks in, he provided a spark, and it was really a go-to guy getting nearly 10 targets in a couple of his first games as a rookie tight end with a veteran quarterback throwing the ball. I thought that really showed how trustworthy Dulcich was right when he got on the NFL field. So I think Dulcich is a good pick here, and I expect him to have a really nice career in the NFL.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, he was my tight end 1, your tight end 2. I really, liked what he could do as a playmaker with the ball in his hands. Tight end position on offense, at least, probably was the closest call. I think it really could have gone either way for Dulcich or Okonkwo. So, we ended up going with Dulcich here, but, again, close call. I don't think anything on the offensive line was too controversial. Abraham Lucas, he had a really good season, outplaying, first round pick Charles Cross, who also played really well this season.
Yeah.
If we're being honest, Ike Ekwonu at the other tackle position, I think he struggled the first few games, but after that, I think he really held it down, showed his ability to block in the run game, and showed much improvement in the pass game. I think Zion Johnson was probably the best guard or best rookie guard this season. I think Cole Strange, he struggled a couple games, but he proved to us that he deserved to be a first-round pick.
Absolutely.
And then, Tyler Linderbaum, I think he was hands down the best rookie center. So I don't think there's anything too controversial on the offensive line.
Yeah, I think Ekwonu and Strange, if you watch certain games, they did struggle. They were really hot and cold, but they also had games where they were playing like one of the very best players on the field. And so that's what did it for me is whereas you could point to maybe Tyler Smith at guard or you could point to Braxton Jones at tackle, who maybe were more consistent than Strange and Ekwonu. I think what they showed in certain games where they were really maybe the best player on their offensive line, that was really impressive. And that's why I wanted to give them the nod here.
Yeah, I mean, Ekwonu's play in some games, I'm thinking the Lions game, I mean, when they ran for, what was that, almost 300 yards as a team. I mean, if it wasn't for his play as well as the play of the rest of the offensive line, they would not have won that game.
Yeah.
So I think, like you mentioned, really, really good games from them and some subpar games. But I think in the end, it kind of averaged out to a better season for those two than anyone else that was up for that spot.
Yeah. I think you can flip to the defensive side. And one thing I'll address is some people are wondering what kind of scheme we picked. And what we were really focusing on here for both sides of the ball was just get the 11 most performing players from this rookie class onto this honors. And that's why you'll see that, we only have 3 defensive linemen. There's 3 safeties, but that's because we just approached it as, since the D tackles didn't really show out, we're going to have 3 defensive linemen. We're going to have 3 linebackers, and then we're just going to have 5 defensive backs, 2 corners, 2 safeties, and we're going to pick the 5th best defensive back. So I'll read it off from the trenches to the defensive backs. We'll have on the edge Hutchinson and Thibodeau, defensive tackle Jordan Davis. The linebackers are Devin Lloyd, Malcolm Rodriguez, and James Houston. And the cornerbacks, Ahmad Gardner and Tariq Woolen, no surprise there. Safeties, who the safeties really showed out this season. Jalen Petrie, Jaquan Brisker, and as our 5th DB, Kirby Joseph.
Yeah, right off the bat, I mean, this is half the Lions defense. Four Lions defenders on this team, which is extremely impressive. We had somebody in the comments mention home run draft for the Lions. It really was. I know we're talking defense right now, but they also have Jameson Williams, who, when limited action this season, played well for what you expect
Really
from
just
him.
that one 42-yard touchdown. Other than that, really wasn't getting looks, but I hope that will change next year.
Yeah, and I'd expect him, with a full off season to continue to improve. Um, Going into some of our picks now, I think Hutchinson and Thibodeau, the two best edge rushers in the class, at least this season. I think there was really no contention there. Defensive tackle was really difficult. Jordan Davis was injured for part of the season, and he didn't, play as much as we would have liked. That was one of our concerns with him coming out in the draft. But there was really limited production from any defensive tackle, and Davis was probably the best.
Yeah, there really wasn't much else out of Jordan Davis. The position group that I thought was really difficult to pick three from was linebacker. James Houston was an obvious one, having played half the season and notching 8 sacks was really impressive. But the remaining 2 spots I thought were pretty difficult. We went with Lloyd and Rodriguez, but Jack Sanborn could have been there. Quay Walker could have been there. There were a lot of people in our comments that were wondering why Quay Walker wasn't there. And what it came down to for me was if these guys were really all neck and neck, Quay Walker twice this season got ejected for shoving an opposing team's trainer. I think that's really something to hold against him here, which is why I wanted to give the nod to Lloyd and Rodriguez over him.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a really good defensive back class. This is a really good linebacker class as well. There were 5 guys that we wouldn't have had a problem putting any 5 of those guys on there due to their play and production. We had some questions about Devin Lloyd in the Jaguars games that I saw, albeit, it was fairly limited. But what I saw from him was really good play, rallying around the ball, making a lot of tackles. And that's what I expect from a linebacker. Malcolm Rodriguez, again, another Lions linebacker, making a lot of tackles, making turnovers as well.
Lloyd also had his best weeks in the very beginning of the season. So I think it might also be a little bit of recency bias for why people are pushing against him being included in this team. But we really looked at the entire season and just remember, I know week 1, he was absolutely outstanding. And now that's, 3-4 months ago, but it still merits a lot of consideration for when we're looking at the whole season, who were the best rookies.
Yeah, and I mean, cornerback, like you said, no question, Sauce Gardner and Tariq Woolen, both top 10 corners in the league. Sauce was named first team All-Pro. I think he was deserving of that. I know, there's a lot of people that weren't big fans of that. People calling him overrated.
He's not overrated.
I disagree. He's not overrated. And I just kind of wanted to highlight a little bit, he can get a little physical. And I think there's a difference between being physical and hand fighting with your wide receiver than blatantly wrapping your arm around a receiver and grabbing. Were there plays where he should have gotten called for defensive pass interference? Totally. But I like my corners physical. I don't mind if, they're pushing hand fighting with the wide receivers a little bit. I don't think there was a lot of blatant pass interference. And then obviously Woolen leading the league in interceptions, well deserving of being on here as well.
Yeah, I'll say that being able to be physical without drawing penalties is a skill. We've seen so many people talking about how Gardner should have drawn so many more penalties than he did, but the fact is that he didn't. And I don't see why NFL referees would be favoring some rookie cornerback. They don't care about that. They're calling him like they do any other cornerback, and the fact of the matter is he's very good at pushing that line where anymore it would be a flag, but it's not because he's just smart with how physical he is. He disrupts the receiver, but doesn't draw flags as much as some people think he should. So that's just a plus for him. I wanted to mention that. I think that the safeties, one thing that we were asked about was why Kyle Hamilton wasn't there. And in most years, Kyle Hamilton would be here, but these three safeties were incredible. I don't think Hamilton was bad. By no means was that the case. But Petrie would honestly be in the running for defensive rookie of the year sometimes, even though it's an undervalued position, so he'd probably never win it. But I think he would legitimately be the best defensive rookie in some classes. Jaquan Brisker was really good. Kirby Joseph, I mean, he had 3 picks in 2 games against the Packers. He was really good too. So there was tough competition for Kyle Hamilton for these 3 safety spots.
I mean, Jalen Petrie had 147 tackles from the safety position, which is absolutely absurd. And we've talked about this time and time again in the scouting process. Tackling is a big thing that I stress for safeties. And, Petrie is really showing that it really pays off to be a good tackler. Kirby Joseph, you could argue, played a big part in winning both those games against the Packers.
Yeah.
So that's really what stood out to me the most. But all season long, I think he was a really good safety for the Lions.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about here with these rookies?
I think we pretty much, covered everything, all the questions, all the concerns. We didn't make a special teams all rookie team, but Marcus Jones would definitely be on there. Another All-Pro or another rookie All-Pro at punt returner. So, just wanted to give a shout out to him. Stay tuned for our Rookie of the Year picks, which will be coming soon. And we're also new this year. We're going to tally all of the times each player was awarded a Rookie of the Week or a Rookie of the Week runner-up, and we will let you guys know that as well. So that'll be a really interesting thing to look at. So I know this is a quick one. Really just want to talk about our all-rookie teams. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with another episode soon.